The story opens on the day of an engagement ceremony. A man in a dark uniform stares in utter disbelief. His name is Saryu, and his sanity is about to break. Before him stands his bride, her veil lifted. He screams internally that she is just too cute. Silky silver hair, skin as smooth as an egg. He thinks a girl like her can't possibly be his wife. She looks down, a little worried by his intense stare. She asks if her appearance bothers him. Saryu screams, "That's not it at all." He blurts out that he just doesn't know what to do. He's flustered, rambling that he doesn't deserve her. A calm voice cuts through his panic. It's his mother, reminding him this is the engagement ceremony. She informs them they will live together for half a year, but they must not engage in any inappropriate behavior. Saryu clutches his head in despair. He wonders if his mind can possibly hold on. The scene shifts, going back 3 months. A carriage travels toward a distant, grand castle. Inside, Saryu sits with his mother, looking serious. He was on his way to an arranged marriage meeting. He was the third son of the Tydros royal family. He couldn't figure out why he was chosen. Not the king, not the crown prince, but him. He felt that something was definitely amiss. His mother simply told him there was no big reason, but Saryu knew the truth. It was because he wasn't popular. His eldest brother was the beloved crown prince. His second brother was a beautiful, androgynous nobleman. And Saryu, he took after his rugged father. He was a warrior, known for crushing bandits on the frontier. This earned him a rather unfortunate nickname, the Winter Bear of Tydros. His rough appearance scared women away. Potential marriage meetings were complete failures. He sighs, having accepted he would be single forever. He just wants to end this meeting peacefully and go home. The carriage arrives at the grand hall, and then a man's voice rings out. He declares that the engagement is off. Saryu and his mother stare in shock. At the top of the stairs stands the other party's crown prince, Arios. He holds another woman tightly in his arms. This is Mil, the prince's lover from a minor noble family, and standing alone is the official fiancée, Sitoin. She's dressed in a white gown, her face hidden by a thick veil. Saryu remembers thinking she looked like a moving white cocoon. Now Prince Arios publicly humiliates her. He accuses Sitoin of committing inhumane acts against his beloved Mil. He claims Sitoin repeatedly ignored Mil. Saryu clenches his jaw, thinking that's just normal social hierarchy. Arios adds that she was excluded from tea parties. Saryu thinks to himself that of course she was. A baron's daughter couldn't just join a royal tea party. He realizes these two are hopelessly naive about the world. All the attendees are looking at Prince Arios with cold eyes. But Sitoin just stands there, silent. She endures the unreasonable accusations without a word. Saryu watches, a strange feeling growing in his chest. He remembers his mother's sudden question in the carriage. She had asked if he had a lover yet. When he said no, a sly smile crossed her face. She whispered that if that's the case, they should take the young lady. Saryu had been stunned by his mother's audacity. Back in the hall, Prince Arios isn't finished. He points at the veiled Sitoin. He sneers that someone with an ugly heart like hers, and an appearance like hers, could never be his wife. Something inside Saryu snaps. He rises from his seat, his face a mask of fury. He shouts, asking what he thinks he's doing. How dare he insult a woman's appearance in public? He storms toward the prince, his voice booming. He demands that Arios take back his words. The entire hall erupts, other guests shouting in agreement. Prince Arios freezes, completely stunned by the backlash. Saryu stops before the silent, veiled figure. He looks at the woman, who refuses to defend herself. He asks her why. Why is she just standing there and taking it? Her form is still, as if she's given up. He reaches out a hand, his fingers brushing the fabric. With a sharp tug, he pulls the veil away. He finally sees her face for the first time. Her silver hair frames delicate features and wide purple eyes. Saryu's breath catches in his throat. A single, unfamiliar name escapes his lips. He stares, completely and utterly lost. Sitoin's eyes widen in surprise, her features perfectly framed. Saryu's mind goes completely blank. He stares, trying to process what he's seeing. Where, he wonders, is the ugliness he was warned about? His brothers beside him chuckle in amazement. They agree she is an incredibly beautiful young lady. This is no laughing matter for Saryu. He lets out a panicked shout, grabbing his head. What do I do with such a beautiful girl? In his confusion, he grabs the person standing nearest to him. It's his adjutant, Raoul, who just grins. Raoul tells the prince to calm down. He playfully adds that Saryu is going to make him die of laughter. A voice cuts through his panic, reminding him of his duty. Don't keep your fiancé waiting too long. Saryu freezes. The engagement ceremony. He had completely forgotten. A formal voice announces the final step of the ritual. A kiss on the forehead. Saryu's gaze fixes on Sitoen, his heart pounding. He needs to cast away all impure thoughts. Sitoen closes her eyes, her own heart racing. She thinks to herself that this is no good at all. The entire hall watches in breathless silence. Saryu takes a steadying breath, his expression turning serious. He slowly reaches for her veiled head. His gloved hand gently cups the side of her face. He leans in, his resolve firm. His lips press against her forehead through the thin veil. The sound of polite applause fills the room. He pulls back, his eyes still locked on her. Sitoen opens her eyes, a radiant, happy smile on her face. Saryu feels his entire world tilt on its axis. He lets out an involuntary, frustrated groan. His sanity is already at its absolute limit. He wonders how he'll survive the 6 months until the wedding. He stumbles back, crying out that this is all wrong. He shouts that someone like him doesn't deserve a girl like her. He bows his head, apologizing for his embarrassing outburst. Sitoen just watches him, a gentle smile playing on her lips. She closes her eyes and softly says, yes. Her simple acceptance only flusters him more. He stammers a weak excuse and tries to flee. As he backs away, Sitoen lets out a long sigh of pure relief. In his mind, Saryu can only think of one thing. Her cuteness is a sin. Its destructive power is unbelievable. But this chaotic moment was a long time in the making. It all began when Crown Prince Arios pointed a cruel finger. He had declared his engagement to Sitoen was broken off. King Noi had screamed at his son, calling him a fool. The king was in a state of absolute panic. But Sitoen's father, Lord Baramoa, stood cold and resolute. He announced he would take his daughter and return to their kingdom. He extended a hand to her, telling her it was time to go home. The king begged him to reconsider, their nation's resources at stake. But Lord Baramoa was unswayed. He said breaking it off was fine. Just then, a calm, regal voice cut through the tension. It was Saryu's mother, Queen Tidros, making her entrance. She approached the panicked king, asking if it was truly over. She expressed her sympathy for Lord Baramoa's feelings. She said this was a poor way to treat a young lady. From the sidelines, Saryu watched, his fists clenching in anger. The queen then admired Sitoen's dignified composure under her veil. With the entire court listening, she turned to Lord Baramoa. She made what she called a presumptuous proposal. Would he welcome his daughter as her own foolish son's companion? She was proposing a new betrothal, on the spot. An engagement between Sitoen and Saryu. A horrified scream ripped from Saryu's throat. He thought his mother's matchmaking had finally gone too far. He was just a third son, a military man. In his own mind, he was a gruff bear man, totally unsuitable. Lord Baramoa began to politely reject the queen's kind offer. He explained that as a vassal he must consult his king. But then he paused. He continued, saying that as a father, his feelings were different. He wished to entrust his daughter to one person, the prince who had stood up for her honor first. He was entrusting Sitoen to Saryu. The world went silent, as Saryu was struck completely speechless. He tried to protest, insisting they must ask Sitoen for her opinion. He frantically listed his own flaws, trying to dissuade her father. But his reputation had already reached the kingdom of Tanya. He was known as the Winter Bear of Tidros, the prince with a legendary losing streak in matchmaking. 2 months later, the official proposal arrived. Saryu was shocked it hadn't been rejected. His brothers teased him, warning him not to get his hopes up. After all, The crown prince had called her ugly. That night, after the ceremony finally concluded, Saryu stood by the window, a single tear on his cheek. His friend Raoul watches him, asking what's wrong. Saryu just smiles, saying he's happy. For years, Raoul had refused to marry before his captain did. Now, Saryu tells him, he can finally have his own happiness. The mood shifts, as Saryu recalls his brother's stern warning. A direct order had come from the king himself. He and Setun were to live together immediately. It would be a disaster if she got pregnant before the blessing. An attendant then bursts in with urgent news. Lord Vandal, Saryu's best friend, would visit tomorrow. Saryu groans. He knows Vandal is coming, just to see him panic. Still, he must go and inform Miss Setun. He arrives at her door, his heart pounding nervously. His own men threaten to barge in if he takes too long. He enters the room and immediately freezes. She sits there, impossibly beautiful, smiling serenely. He fumbles through his words, telling her about his friend. She graciously accepts the meeting. She then thanks him for saving her from her last engagement. He dismisses it, calling himself an unworthy, bear-like man. A shadow crosses her face and she looks down, but then she smiles, telling him he hasn't changed at all. Saryu is completely lost. Had they met before, he decides he should leave before he says anything else foolish. But he stops, remembering the dragon mark. He hesitantly asks if the mark bothers her. Her face falls. She asks if he thinks it's disgusting. He sees the deep pain in her eyes, caused by other men. Saryu feels a hot surge of anger at them. He puts on the kindest, gentlest smile he can muster. He asks if she would be willing to show it to him. She blushes, surprised, then brings a hand to her chest. "It's here," she whispers softly. Saryu's brain short-circuits. He is not prepared for this. He imagines her dress falling, and pure panic sets in. He shouts that he can't look, that it's too much, too soon. He flees the room, screaming apologies as he goes. He runs right into his attendants, his face beet red. From the doorway, Setun cries that it's all a misunderstanding. The next day, Lord Vandal arrives, eager to meet the new bride. A cheerful voice calls out to his dear friend. Saryu glares back, veins popping on his forehead. He roars, asking who the hell is his friend. But the man, Vandal, just keeps smiling, arms open wide. Saryu lunges forward, grabbing Vandal's face. A cry of pain echoes as he's tossed aside. Later, Saryu stares in disbelief at a bizarre gift. A massive whale skeleton hangs from the ceiling. Vandal then begins teasing him about his upcoming wedding. He mockingly pities Saryu for having to remain pure. Saryu clenches his jaw, trying to change the subject. He brings up the trouble in the caravan-allied kingdom. The king of Tanya is furious with a certain prince, all for insulting the girl with the dragon mark. Vandal smirks, asking where this beautiful princess is now. Saryu explains he met Vandal alone just in case. Right on cue, the grand doors swing open. Vandal suddenly clutches his chest and collapses to the floor. He guesses that he just rode his horse too hard. Saryu rushes to his side, asking if he's all right. Setun enters, her eyes falling upon the scene. She sees her fiancé cradling another man on the floor. Saryu freezes, his face draining of all color. He stammers that it's not what she thinks. But Vandal leans in close, a sly smile on his face. He tells Setun that they're just old-school friends. Saryu lets out a horrified scream as Vandal laughs. But Setun is completely unfazed by the display. She simply assures the butler there is nothing between them. Later, Vandal kneels before her, a perfect gentleman. He calls her the goddess who captured his friend's heart. He smoothly compliments how wonderful she looks in her dress. Saryu realizes with a jolt that he hasn't said a word. He flushes, stumbling over an awkward compliment of his own. But Setun just beams, her smile radiant. She says she's so happy, and so glad she wore it. Saryu is stunned by her pure, simple joy. The mood shifts as Vandal's expression turns grave. He looks pale, his brow furrowed in sudden pain. He admits he's just tired from pushing himself too hard. Setun's smile fades, replaced by a look of deep concern. She begins to say that perhaps Vandal-sama is. Setun breaks the tense silence, her eyes full of concern. She wonders aloud if perhaps Lord Vandal has anemia. Vandal freezes, the word echoing in his mind. His friend Saryu is just as confused by the suggestion. The reddish-haired nobleman, Cecil, calmly asks why she thinks so. Sitoen explains that she noticed Vandal's spoon-shaped nails. Vandal stares down at his own hand in disbelief. Cecil laughs, joking the nails are rebellious, just like their owner. Concerned, Vandal begins asking about Sitoen's diet, but the conversation suddenly takes a sharp turn. It's revealed that Vandal himself has always hated meat. He admits he eats fish but doesn't actually enjoy it. Sitoen's eyes light up. Seeing a path forward, she dives into a detailed lecture on iron-rich fish. She describes cooking methods to remove the unpleasant smell. Vandal covers his mouth, looking visibly nauseated. Undeterred, she explains iron from plants and absorption rates. Saryu listens, completely stunned by her incredible depth of knowledge. Cecil watches her, a new, thoughtful look on his face. Sitoen finally turns her intense gaze back to Vandal. The conversation, she reveals, was never about her at all. She calmly asks if he thought anemia was a womanly disease. Vandal flinches, completely caught off guard by the accusation. He tries to dismiss her, insisting he's just tired from overworking. Cecil smirks, telling him to stop trying to look cool. Sitoen's voice rises with a sudden, fiery passion. She declares that everyone suffers equally when it comes to illness. She tells him to eat proper meals, pumping her fists with determination. Vandal is completely floored by her unexpected spirit. He murmurs that she's just like a doctor. The compliment sends Sitoen into a total panic. "No, no, no, no," she cries, her face turning beet red. She grows dizzy, stumbling against him for support. Vandal is utterly bewildered by her strange reaction. Cecil, however, is now deeply intrigued by her knowledge. He asks if her father is a court physician. Sitoen denies it, but vows she can prove her methods will work. Cecil's eyes gleam with a sudden, brilliant idea. He abruptly asks Saryu to bring the mysterious lady to his territory. He's already making plans, declaring they'll leave within the week. With a charming smile, he bids them a swift farewell. Saryu and Sitoen are left sitting in stunned silence. Inside a grand hall, Prince Saryu stands alone with his thoughts. He holds a glass of wine, his brow furrowed with concern. He remembers the shocking command he was given, an expedition to Count Shin's territory. He recalls reporting this to his superiors. A young aide had asked, "What for?" No one seemed to understand the reason. Only a stern, bearded man gave a simple command. "Go ahead." The matter, he'd said, was classified. Saryu couldn't shake the deep unease. And so, their long journey had begun. They arrived at the First Lord's imposing castle. His men were already fiercely protective of Sitoen. A blonde knight vowed to ensure her safety. Even her personal maid, Eaton, was filled with resolve. She proudly announced she would take care of the young lady. Saryu explained they would be staying at many mansions. Sitoen simply agreed with a quiet, graceful nod. At the first estate, the welcome was overwhelmingly grand. The Lord beamed, honored by the prince's presence. Saryu found it all a bit much. He glanced back, checking on Sitoen's well-being. The Lord began telling a strange story he'd heard, a wild tale about the Luminous Kingdom's engagement. A flashback shows a prince carrying Sitoen like a prize. Saryu chokes on his drink, sputtering. The Lord simply laughs at the fanciful tale. He remarks how unreliable rumors can be. The conversation then turns to Sitoen herself. The guests say she too is different from the rumors. Saryu's expression darkens. Rumors? Whispers fill the air around him. That she was conceited and despised the royal family. That she was a spendthrift who struggled with languages. Saryu's knuckles turn white around his glass. He grits his teeth, simmering with a quiet rage. With a sudden roar, he demands to know who said such things. The entire room falls silent at his outburst. His subordinate rushes to his side, calling him Captain. Saryu looks down, shamefaced by his own anger. The Lord quickly apologizes for getting carried away. He assures Saryu he knows the rumors are malicious now. Saryu thinks to himself, this is Prince Arios's doing. It had to be from the man who cast her aside. He watches Sitoen from across the room. An aide whispers that she is actually fluent in many languages. Saryu processes this new information slowly. Foreign languages. Huh. He recalls hearing she'd lived abroad for 2 years. He thinks of the white cocoon veil from her engagement, a symbol of her trying to kill who she was. He wonders if she is still hiding her heart away. His gaze sharpens, studying her serene smile. The gossip then shifts to the new crown princess, Meal. She is apparently ignorant of all current affairs. The country's economy is in crisis because of her. A flashback shows Meal, crying and desperate. She pleads with a man to sell her more jewels for her wedding. The nobles murmur amongst themselves. Sitoen was the villain, but now the truth is out. They mock the neighboring prince for his poor judgment. Saryu remembers that prince's cruel words to Sitoen. His friend beside him lets out a soft, "Oh?" The pieces of the puzzle begin to connect. Across the hall, Sitoen holds her wine glass gracefully. She moves through the crowd like a phantom. Suddenly, she stops. Her expression shifts. Saryu sees it instantly, his eyes widening in alarm. Sitoen turns sharply, a look of concern on her face. Her maid lets out a gasp of pure shock. Saryu's men sense the disturbance immediately. He orders his lieutenant to go check on the situation. He himself moves swiftly through the crowd toward her. He takes the glass from her trembling hand. He brings the glass to his own lips and takes a sip. His eyes snap open in sudden, horrified realization. Miss Sitoen. He remembers her severe allergy to peaches. An allergy so bad, even touching the juice is dangerous. His friend confirms it. The juice is laced with peach. But how did this glass end up in her hand? He recalls a butler handing it to her, calling her princess. A chill runs down his spine. Someone deliberately targeted Miss Sitoen. He tells his men his decision is made. For her safety, he must stay as close as possible. He declares they will have to share a bedroom. The scene cuts to a lavish bedroom. Sitoen sits on the bed, her eyes wide with shock. The air in the lavish bedroom hangs thick with tension. Saryu stands stiffly, a blush creeping up his neck. He tells her this is awkward, to please think of him as heir. Sitoen looks down, her cheeks rosy with embarrassment. She murmurs that she's the one who's in the way. His mind flashes back to the meeting with his men. They had shouted that separate bedrooms were too dangerous. One insisted that Tidros's winter bear must be by her side. Saryu grimaces, thinking the winter bear is the one most likely to attack her, making this a disaster. He grabs a blanket, gesturing to the sofa. He announces calmly that he will sleep there. Sitoen's head shoots up, her expression determined. She shouts no, she'll sleep on the sofa. He can't believe it, arguing he can't let a girl sleep there. She clenches a fist, retorting that she's not that young anymore. He freezes, wondering if 20 is still considered a girl. Sitoen, exasperated, throws her hands up. She suggests they just sleep together in the bed. His eyes go wide. That's even worse. He thinks about how he could possibly stay still. Sitoen scrambles onto the massive bed. She says she'll stay still. Way over on her side, Saryu sighs, defeated. It can't be helped. His mind pictures them on the narrow sofa. He'd surely make a move. He grits his teeth. The edge of the bed is the better option. Sitoen clutches a pillow, asking if this spot is okay. Saryu fights the urge to stare. He thinks that every single movement she makes is too cute. He clenches his hands, trying to distract himself. He brings up the poisoned drink from earlier. He explains it was a mistake, meant for another lady. He can't tell her the truth, it would only scare her. He tells himself he has to protect her. This is the only way. Sitoen looks at him, a question in her eyes. She asks if they can speak Tanian when they're alone. A gentle smile plays on Saryu's lips. Sitoen's breath catches, her cheeks flushing. He says he only knows it conversationally. She thinks about how little she knows of polite language herself. She smiles softly, saying he's been speaking foreign languages this whole time. Her mind drifts. How long has it been since she spoke her native tongue? She remembers being wrapped in a white cocoon, to become someone different from who she was born as. Saryu watches her, his expression softening. He wonders if she is still killing her heart. He says they must speak to Drosian in public, but when it's just the two of them, her eye widens, a flicker of emotion passing through it. She clasps her hands, her expression pensive. She asks why. Why is he being so kind to her? He has been, ever since they first met. Saryu looks her straight in the eye. He says it's because they're going to be husband and wife. He adds it's natural for a husband to treat his wife well. Sitoan freezes, her eyes wide with shock. The words echo in her head. Husband and wife. Saryu feels a sudden, sharp sense of unease. Her eyes are on him, but he sees she's looking through him. Then she whispers a name. That prince. A knot of anger forms in his gut. She asks him if he dislikes anything. Her voice is soft as she offers a hypothetical. What if someone appeared with tattoos of something he hated? Could he still bring himself to like that person? Saryu's eyes narrow. He knows who she means. She continues, her voice trembling slightly. If she had something he physiologically rejected, he surely couldn't come to like her. She takes a deep breath, her expression grave. She asks him to look at her dragon mark, and then tell her what he will do. Will he tell her to hate it? That it's disgusting, just like that other man did. Fire ignites in Saryu's chest. He demands she not speak of that man with those lips. Is she trying to compare them? He's the one in front of her. He shouts at her to just forget him already. Tears stream down Sitoen's face. She whispers that she tried. She tried to love Prince Arios. But how could she forgive someone who despises her? Saryu's anger instantly vanishes, replaced by regret. He apologizes, saying he said too much. But Sitoen interrupts, her voice breaking. She tearfully confesses she thinks very favorably of him, that she loves him for cherishing her. But if he sees the mark and feels disgust, she will give up on him. She pleads with him to see it now, to end her uncertainty. He stares back, his gaze hard as steel. He leans forward and gives a low command. Show it to me. Saryu sits on the bed, his back turned to Sitoen. He finally works up the nerve, demanding she show it to him. A faint blush colors Sitoen's cheeks with surprise. His mind flashes with the panic that led to this moment. He'd clutched his head, realizing his demand meant her chest. The thought alone had made him want to scream, but he had resolved to accept all of her, no matter what. Now she stands before him, her expression troubled. She worries the mark isn't what he was expecting. He has to ask, did the former prince ever see it? With hands clasped, she quietly tells him no. She had offered, but the prince had refused to even look. Saryu freezes. The man was a complete idiot, frightened by his own imagination, and hurting Sitoen. He sees the profound sadness lingering in her eyes. An impulse takes over, and he reaches out a hand. His fingers are drawn toward the mysterious blue marking. He gently makes contact with her skin. It's soft. The mark itself is smooth and strangely warm. A bizarre sensation spreads up from his fingertips. Sitoen murmurs shyly, her face turning bright red. And then, the full reality of the moment hits him. Saryu's face contorts in pure, unfiltered shock. He violently launches himself backward off the bed. Sorry, he yells, scrambling away from her in a panic. He crashes face first onto the hard floor. A groan of pain escapes him as he clutches his head. The soft sensation on his hand still tingles. He kneels, body trembling, shouting that he's in a rough spot. Especially, he adds, his lower half. Sitoen, worried, asks if he's all right. He desperately begs her not to come any closer. After a moment, her voice comes, quiet and small. She asks if the dragon mark was disgusting to him. The question floors him. He stares, completely stunned. He warns her that if she comes near him now, he'd surely attack her. Her eyes widen, and she admits she might like him even more. It's a critical hit. He collapses, defeated by her cuteness. Later, as he recovers on the floor, a hand reaches for him. Sitoen smiles sweetly, chanting a soft, childish spell. Pain, pain, she whispers, fly away. He slams his forehead to the ground, utterly overwhelmed. Is she a goddess or a demon? It's the third day of their journey. The captain looks terrible. His men murmur amongst themselves, worried for his health. He confesses he's been sleeping in the same bed as Miss Sitoen every night. They lie stiffly, side by side, never touching. He groans, frustrated. He can still feel her soft touch from days ago. And last night, she held his hand while she slept. He didn't sleep at all. His men offer him a chance to rest, but he refuses. He can't sleep while his men are working. He asks where Miss Sitoen is. He finds her in the courtyard, enjoying tea with her maid. He watches from a distance, wanting to give her this moment of peace. He knows she must be exhausted from the constant formal events. A servant approaches her table, flanked by 2 guards. The man offers her a tart, asking if she'd prefer peaches or apples. A sudden flash of insight hits Saryu. Something is wrong. He notices the small knife on the tray, meant for cutting the pastry, and then he sees the dagger hidden in the servant's hand. He lets out a desperate scream, telling her to get away. He's too far. He starts running, cursing the distance. With no other choice, he hurls his teacup through the air. He yells that it will at least serve as a threat. The cup shatters near Sitoen, making her flinch in surprise. Saryu lunges forward, screaming at the assassin. The attacker leaps, dagger drawn, but Saryu kicks it from his grasp. An explosion rocks the cobblestones. He dodged it by a hair. Saryu bellows an order for his men to protect Lady Sitoen. He thinks to himself that right now, he's in the worst mood possible. A warning rings out from one of his men. On your right, the assassin reveals a second dagger. He's a dual wielder. Saryu dodges, realizing the attack is fast but predictable. He sees the pattern in his opponent's movements. With a powerful swing, he shatters the assassin's defense and slams him to the ground. Saryu stands over the downed man as his soldiers rush in, calling for a rope. One of his captains tells him it's all right now, they'll handle the rest. A soft thud behind him. Sitoen has collapsed against his back. He turns, asking if she's all right. He assumes she must have been scared, but her eyes are filled with tears for him. She asks if he's hurt. He's taken aback. She's worried about him, not herself. He offers a reassuring smile, telling her this is nothing for the winter bear. Her legs give out from the shock and relief. He scoops her into his arms, carrying her away from the chaos. He tells her he won't die, and that she is now in the safest place in the country. He promises he'll always be by her side as she clings to him, finally safe. They arrive at Count Sheen's territory, where a friend rushes out to greet them. The Count is ecstatic, exclaiming that his body feels light and healthy again. He beams, crediting Saryu's efforts for his newfound health. But Saryu quickly cuts the pleasantries short, eager to get to the point. The memory of the cafe attack is still fresh and unsettling. A key witness, the waiter, had bitten off his own tongue and died. Despite the danger, Sitoen stubbornly refused to cancel their social galas. So Saryu banned all weapons, an act the nobles saw as romantic. Now, in a private meeting, a blond man named Raoul takes the floor. He says it is time to discuss the main issue, Lord Mada. The name hangs in the air, an exile from the Mirror Empire. Recently, a mysterious illness has broken out in the exile district he governs. Saryu asks what kind of illness it is. They reveal there is no treatment, only isolation in a makeshift building. A teacup clicks against its saucer. Sitoen quietly asks a question. Could it be an infectious disease? The men admit they don't know and want to hear her opinion. Saryu's expression freezes over. He slams the table. I refuse! He stands, shouting that he won't let her go to such a dangerous place. The Count calmly counters that he's met the patients himself, and he's fine. Raoul adds that he also lived among them for several days, unharmed. Saryu erupts again. This isn't an issue they can just ignore. The men lay out the political stakes, discrimination, civil unrest. In the worst case, the Mirror Empire could use it as a pretext for war. They recall a time a village was burned for disinfection. Saryu understands with sickening clarity they want to use Sitoen. But her calm voice cuts through the rising tension. She asks them to describe the exact symptoms. They paint a horrifying picture: diarrhea, stomach pains, and fatigue. The victim's skin slowly turns a deathly blue-black. Saryu is aghast as they explain the common link: dried fish. But only some who ate it got sick, often just the men in a household. Sitoen asks if men from the district often eat it. They confirm it's a staple for exiles, eaten with a grain called kairos. The men turn to her, formally pleading for her wisdom. Saryu is stunned. He looks at Sitoen, telling her she can refuse. He asks her directly, "Aren't you scared?" His voice is tight with his own fear. He's terrified of losing her. In response, Sitoen offers a soft, gentle smile. She says that if her knowledge can help someone, she must offer it. Saryu stares at her determined face, knowing he cannot stop her. His gaze hardens with a new resolve. All he can do is protect her. The investigation begins inside a simple wooden house. A masked woman questions a weeping wife named Natalie. Did her husband, she asks, eat the dried fish? Through tears, Natalie confirms that he did. She explains he has been sick for some time now. He can only drink the special pork and onion soup she makes. The lead investigator, Sitoen, decides she must see the patient herself. She gives a stark warning to her entourage. They are not to touch anything, if possible. They enter a dim room where a man, Rigo, sits weakly in bed. His wife introduces Sitoen as someone skilled in medicine. Sitoen begins her examination, her gloved hands taking his pulse. She notes his heart is racing, a condition called tachycardia. She asks to see his legs, pulling back the sheet. The man gasps. His legs look swollen and painful. Rigo adds that he can't lie down. It makes it too hard to breathe. A sudden realization dawns in Sitoen's eyes. She asks Natalie if she has been feeding him karis. Natalie freezes. It was all they had when they were poor. Rigo's face drains. He looks utterly terrified. He asks in a trembling voice if he is going to die. He cries out, horrified at leaving his wife behind. Saryu, the guard, drops to one knee beside him. He tells Rigo that with such a good wife, he cannot die. Saryu thinks of his own terror of leaving Sitoen alone. He grabs the man's shoulder, urging him to live out of pure spite. Rigo breaks down completely, sobbing in despair. A colleague sharply reminds Saryu not to touch the patient. Saryu freezes, worried he's about to be scolded. But Sitoen is calm. She understands now. She reveals a handful of polished white rice. This is karis. The sickness isn't an infection, she announces. It's beriberi, a nutritional deficiency caused by eating only polished rice. But the soup Natalie made was his salvation. It was rich in pork and onion, full of the vitamin he needed. Rigo stares at his wife, his eyes full of awe and gratitude. Natalie is speechless, tears of relief finally streaming down her face. With a shaky voice, she asks if he will truly get better. Sitoen smiles warmly. They will work hard together. Rigo pulls his wife into a fierce, desperate embrace. Later, Saryu bows deeply, thanking Sitoen for her wisdom. But she turns the praise back on him, calling his compassion truly princely. The other guards gasp in shock. "Prince!" Saryu just looks back, utterly confused by her words.